Hello and welcome. My name is Luke from Behind the Scene, and today I'm talking to Carson of the Galactic Empire. How you going, Carson?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Now, the reason behind our interview today is that you've recently announced that you guys are going to be coming to Australia, which is very exciting news. How excited are you to head down and see us all?
Oh, very excited. We are beyond excited to leave. I've been looking forward to it for months now, and it'll be my first time playing in a band in Australia. I've been to Australia once before, but it was to produce an album for another band with my partner Grant, who actually plays drums in Galactic Empire. We, our day job, we record bands. So we had been to Australia a couple years ago to record an awesome band called Polaris. We spent a month there, and it was an awesome experience. And I can't wait to get back to Australia and actually play this time.
And what are you looking forward to the most coming back to Australia?
I just love the scenery. Honestly, I love, and the people are so incredibly nice and polite. You know, it's a big difference from America. I feel, or at least my experience when I was there last. It just felt like everyone was so much nicer than the States. So that was great, and I can't wait to play shows there. I know a couple bands from Australia, and I know that, crowds in Australia are usually, very enthusiastic and really there to have a good time. So I'm very stoked to go and see how it goes, playing.
And you'll be playing at Supernova, the Pop Culture Expo. What type of reaction are you expecting?
Just hopefully, people have fun and understand what we're doing and, have fun with it. We definitely, obviously don't take ourselves very seriously. It's supposed to be something that, everyone can kind of enjoy on some kind of level. And, we just hope that people will be able to take something away from it and, be able to put a smile on their face. That's kind of what we're there for. We have fun doing it and hope people have fun listening.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for those who don't know who you guys are, how would you describe your music?
I'd say it's kind of prog technical metal. There's definitely some wacky kind of progressive elements in it. But the interesting thing about that is we didn't really change anything structurally about the music. We pretty much followed the original orchestral score to the note and tried to get the tempos all approximated, and we stayed as close to what was actually written by John Williams as possible. We just played everything on guitar in kind of a metal style and then added drums. Drums were the only thing that we wrote. So believe it or not, John Williams writes tech metal, whether he knows it or not. Because we honestly didn't change much. And there's some stuff, there's some kind of deep cuts on both of our albums that we have that are more kind of like action background chase scene music type thing. The TIE Fighter attack and Ben's death and that sort of thing, and the forest battle, where it's just kind of like a linear string of weird technical parts, and nothing repeats, and it's all just kind of like really weird, progressive metal.
And what inspired you to start this project?
Honestly, just kind of sitting around being, shooting the shit and saying, wouldn't it be funny if we, made a band out of this, Star Wars metal idea. And, originally what happened was Grant, our drummer, Grant McFarland, he's a big fan of Star Wars, and so am I, and he decided to film a drum playthrough of kind of an arrangement that he made on drums that went along to the Imperial March original score. And he did that, put it on YouTube, and then like a year later, he, I guess, was bored and recorded guitar to it and just filled in the rest of what the orchestra was doing along to the drum part that he had originally written for his little YouTube video. and then whatever that turned out to be, we just kind of thought it sounded cool, and thought, well, maybe we should do like the main theme song, and we did that, and then we did the Force theme, and then eventually we just had like a whole album worth of songs in that style. And then we were sitting around and just kind of thought, wouldn't it be funny if we made a music video for one of these and dressed up as, different characters from Star Wars, and that it just kind of snowballed into this bizarre thing, and now here we are playing shows.
Yeah, and what was behind the decision to dress up as the villains of Star Wars rather than the heroes?
Oh, yeah. Well, we just figured, we're kind of playing metal music. We're playing heavy metal, so that's evil, so we should be the villains. And that was kind of the whole rationale behind that.
Yeah,
there wasn't really much thought put into it.
Yeah, that's a very fair rationale behind that. And what is your favorite song to perform? I know you play some deeper cuts from the soundtrack of the films. What's your favorite song to perform?
I really enjoy performing the the main theme, and I really like playing the March of the Resistance. I think both those songs have a lot of really cool parts, and they're both fun to play, and they're both songs that people really dig. So.
Yeah, and what would you say is your most requested song? Is it the theme, or would it be the Cantina theme, or?
Yeah, probably the Cantina Band, I would say. I mean, at least that's what people usually, have a pretty strong reaction to that song, and, are excited when we play it. So, I would say that song and the main theme are kind of the favorites.
And have you seen an increase of requests of songs from the newer films?
Yeah, we actually got a chance to, because our first album that we put out was all old music, because we put it out right around when the 7th film came out. So that new music, it was done before the new music was released, like the new score and the new themes in the new series of movies. And we got a chance to mess around with some of the newer songs off from even Rogue One and episode 7 and 8 on our second album. So there are a lot of like newer themes, like Rey's theme and the March of the Resistance that I mentioned. And those are just they're really fun to play.
And are you a fan of the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, or the newer films?
Well, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the prequel trilogy, to be honest. I think that's pretty much the sentiment for most people. I appreciate them and, their place in the history of the franchise, but I definitely prefer the original 3 films just because I was, that's what I grew up with. I was born in the 80s, so that was kind of like a staple of my childhood, those 3 movies. And, just the nostalgia factor will always, they will always be my favorites. But I do really like the new movies a lot. I think what they're doing is really cool.
Yeah, and have you noticed that there's a new generation of fans coming through with the new set of films into the franchise?
I think it's great. That's one of the things that I really, there are always going to be people who, the original 3 movies were really special to them, so they're going to criticize any new movies or sequels that come out, for doing this or that. But what I like about it is that my kids' generation now gets this cool ongoing thing that, we had kind of, where, you're looking forward. It's kind of an event when the movie comes out, and you can go to it, and, my kids love it. Every kid I know loves Star Wars. And it's just cool that it's kind of, spanned a bunch of different generations since it began, and it's still relevant, and kids still love it. It's always cool to us when kids come to our shows. Sometimes you see like the older Star Wars fans with their kids, and that's always really cool.
And what's the hardest part of performing in the costumes? And have you made any modifications to make performance easier?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the costumes we use in the music videos are the screen accurate Ruby's costumes. Well, relatively screen accurate, and those are impossible to do anything in. When we're shooting the music video, we're not actually playing. We're just shooting different shots, and there's a playback. So we don't really have to be able to play in those. But for live, we actually made our own costumes, and those are a lot kind of closer to the body and not as clunky and falling apart and everything. They're a lot easier to move around and play in. They're still kind of present a challenge. It's definitely difficult to play in them, but we get by. We can hack it.
Yeah, and what got you interested in the metal genre personally?
I don't know. I've always been a fan of heavy metal. I've been in other bands in the past, that played heavy music. I just kind of grew up to that kind of music, and it's always just kind of stuck around. I began recording bands about 15 years ago, and a lot of the bands that I recorded are tended to be heavy metal bands because I guess word of mouth is where I got a lot of my business. So, I've always just kind of been into the genre, and we thought that this was kind of an appropriate, way to bridge the gap between Star Wars and heavy metal.
Thank you so much, Carson. I really appreciate your time. I think that's all we've got time for today, unfortunately. But good luck with everything, with the future shows, and I hope you have a great time here in Australia, and good luck.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And, we're really looking forward to being there.